All right, so this section is called Special Right Triangles, 8.2. I'm kind of sparing you of doing any of the writing, so you might want to just put a little line here so the square root symbol looks a little nicer. So basically, if you have a 45, 45 degree, 90 degree triangle, 45, 45, 90 triangle, like this one right here, and that means the legs are congruent, of course. So why don't we just call them L for leg, and they're the same, okay? But what I'm telling you is that the hypotenuse is going to be always the square root of 2 times whatever that leg is. So this is going to be leg times the square root of 2. Okay? So let's just start with a real simple example. And we might have to do that in reverse at some point. We might be given this number, right? If this was 3 and this was 3, this would be 3 square root of 2. If this was 8, this would be 8, of course, and this would be 8 square root of 2. And sometimes we have to do that in reverse, and sometimes the numbers aren't whole numbers, they're square roots anyways, and things can get a little strange, but the basic idea isn't too bad. So let's look at this one. So here you see they gave us 9. This is a 45, 45, 90, so this is 9. And then what I'm telling you is you just have to know that this is 9 times the square root of 2. It's actually pretty straightforward. Now here we have a little bit of a variation. So we know that these are congruent to each other. So this is 2 square roots of 2. I'll put 2 here just so we know that this is different than this one. So we have that going on. Now we need to take the 2 square roots of 2 and multiply it by the square root of 2. So let's just go ahead and write 2 square roots of 2 times the square root of 2. So you're noticing that this extra square root of 2 is being added on, right? And in this case, we had a square root of 2 already. Now we need to have another square root of 2. So we have 2 square roots of 4. We have 2 times 2. We have straight up 4. So x equals 4 in this situation. So, take a minute, chew on that. Of course, there's a lot of different scenarios where we could give you a whole number on the hypotenuse which doesn't have the square root of 2 in it. And you have to just dissect that, decipher that. All right, so that's a pretty basic principle. Let's go to the next one. So here we have the 30, 60, 90 theorem. So what you have is, let's read it. In a 30, 60, 90, the length of the hypotenuse is twice the length of the shorter leg. So we're going to call the shorter leg S, which makes sense. So shorter leg is S. The length of the longer leg is root 3, square root of 3 times the shorter leg. So basically, whatever this number is, if this is 5, this is then 5 square roots of 3, and if this is 5, this is double 5, this is 10. That's pretty much it. Hopefully I didn't use an example you've already seen. So let me just go through it. So in this case, here's what happened. I'm telling you that this is 10, and this is the hypotenuse. This is the shorter leg. This is the shorter leg. So x must be equal to half of the hypotenuse. Because if the shorter leg doubled as the hypotenuse, then the hypotenuse cut in half must be the shorter leg. And then also, remember, it was the shorter leg times the square root of 3 here. So this is going to equal 5 times the square root of 3. So that's a special right triangle. Here's another one. They gave us 2 square root of 3 on the longer leg, right? Because we're across from the 60, we know it's longer. Across from the 30 is shorter. Across from the 30 is shorter. Across from the 60 is longer. So if you ever have a diagram that's not drawn nicely, you'll know that. So 2 root 3, so that means that this is the magic number, the special number that goes here. So y is 2, and then if you double it, x would equal 4. So it's a shortcut, okay? You can get there with Pythagorean theorem many times, but sometimes you don't have enough information, especially with these ones, because you might be missing 2 different things. So we memorize and we get there from that. So let's see. Those are your basics. Now let's talk about some more tougher examples, I guess you could say. Things where things aren't so straightforward. So we see this is a 45, 45, 90. So this should be whatever. This should be 5 root 3, right? Times a square root of 2. So that's all I'm going to do. And then I'm going to say, okay, well, what is this? Simplify to. Well, 5, and you can combine the square roots together to make it 5 square roots of 6. The 5 square roots of 6 isn't going to simplify, so that's going to be that. All right? So then remember, it's a 45, 45, 90 here. Keep that in mind. So these are the same. Okay. Going kind of quick just to give you the gist. We'll do a lot of these in class, of course. So here's a 6. Okay, here's where it gets a little tougher. So now I'm going to show you something that's pretty important. We know that if we took these two things, these are both x, and we know if we took x times the square root of 2, right, that should equal the hypotenuse, correct? We know if we took that times the square root of 2, that would equal the hypotenuse. So what I'm going to say is x square root of 2 should equal, well, we know the hypotenuse is 6. Now the question becomes, how do we simply find x? So in this equation, finding x is just simple as dividing by the square root of 2. It's just like dividing by any other number, it just happens to be a radical. So x equals 6 over the square root of 2. But for this course, can we have a square root of 2 in the denominator? Is that allowed? No. So we have to multiply, we have to rationalize it. Hopefully this is a skill you're pretty comfortable with at this point. We're really multiplying by 1 because we're multiplying by something over itself. Like root 2 over root 2 is really just 1. So what happens is we get 6 root 2, this thing, over the square root of 4. I know the square root of 4 is 2. 6 divided by 2 can simplify to 3 root 2. And that is what x is. So these are both 3 root 2. So a little more complicated. Take a second on this example. It says now you try here. You can always slow and pause down the video. Sorry for if I'm going kind of fast. Pause it. Take a second on this now you try. Do the best you can do. And look at the previous example if you're having trouble, because I think it's similar to that one. Okay, so you paused the video, you tried that problem. That, I have been trying to get in the habit of numbering these, so we'll call this now you try 1. And so if you want to just write now you try and then put 1 on it, that'd be great. And now we're going to go to a couple more examples. So just getting some pretty good reps here. And always, 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 if you want to rewind, that's great. We can do that. Now we're talking about the different type of triangle. Notice the 60 and the 30. I think I kind of grouped them like that. We have the shorter side here. So what we need to do is take the shorter side and double it to get the hypotenuse. So y should equal 6. We literally just multiply by 2, or double it if that's what you like to think of. Here we just multiplied by the square root of 2. Ooh, square root of 3 actually. Almost messed that one up for you. So the longer leg is always multiplied by the square root of 3. So think about this number as the important number, the short side. That's really kind of what the number you want to have, because it has a common thread. It's connected to the other two sides in a way. I guess they're all connected together, but they're kind of based off of the shorter side. So here we're given the hypotenuse is 8. How can we figure out x? Well, these are always a relationship of like this is doubled or this is halved. So if we doubled it to get 8, or we could have it to get 4. The shorter side is 4, and we know this is always going to be by the square root of 3, so 4 root 3. Okay. So take a moment, give this one a shot. This one's a little trickier, so I did challenge you a little bit with this now you try. What I do want to say is, I guess I'm gonna give you a little bit of a hint, or actually, if you don't want a hint, pause the video right now. So take a moment and pause the video. And if you do want a hint, play the video on. Or maybe you want to try it without a hint and then see if you were on the right path. But I'm going to give a hint right now. So pause the video if you don't want it. Okay. D times the square root of 3 is supposed to come out to the medium leg. The middle side. The longer leg, which is the medium side, I like to say, because this is the shortest, this is the longest, this is the middle. So this should come out to 5. That means you're going to want to divide by the square root of 3 on both sides. And you're going to kind of want to like simplify that down. So if you look above, you'll probably be in pretty good shape. At that point, you'll have what this is, right? You'll have this variable, the shorter side, and you should be able to find the longer side by multiplying it by 2. So that's actually a little bit more of a hint than I meant to give, but now you have it. So good luck, and we will catch up soon. Hope everything made sense. Yeah, talk to you soon.